Okay. Okay, so I'm calling the meeting of the Initiative and Referendum Committee to order as of 7:20 on March 29 already, 2021. And did anybody see the very brief minutes that we had, and can they say they're okay?
I move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. And so I guess, let's see, our agenda is the same as last week. I did want to say that I totally appreciated what you sent, Dave.
Yeah, that was really good, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah, wasn't that cool?
Oh,
So-
Dave,
So where does that leave us?
wait, Dave, remind me what you sent.
It was the cross current PBS piece.
Oh, there
Yeah.
it is.
About the kind of state of electronic signature gathering.
Yes.
And you know, it's when I was thinking about electronic signature gathering, I forgot, of course, that's what you do. You write your name and then they match it to their records, no matter how you do it. I was trying to think of, oh, do we have to go in and have a password for this that ties you to that or whatever? But no, it's your signature, your actual signature. I don't have a way of doing that on my computer though. But they're talking about using a stylus to get it into the system, and then it looks like your signature. I can't even make my signature look right when I'm charging things at the store.
I do smiley faces.
Yeah, that's about it. But
Well, I was
with-
wondering if we're going to do something where we're dropping or raising or whatever we're going to do with the numbers or the percentages, if we would want to say something like, when the Secretary of State does XYZ, San Juan County should accept electronic signatures. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I thought they looked like they were all over the place, and I wouldn't want us to be putting our people to the problem of collecting electronic signatures only to have the Secretary of State say, we don't think you did it quite right.
the wording that I had, and I can't find it right now, but it was something like, and including electronic signatures when the technology allows, or
Yeah.
something like that. So in other words, it's there for the future to use, but we don't have to specify anything more about it because we don't know that much about it.
Right.
I don't
We
know,
could-
but I
we-
think that should be included.
We could use language like, when safe and secure electronic signatures technology is available, but safe and secure has, become so hijacked.
Well, once it is acceptable, like you say, in the state, then we should be able to use it for our county. But
Yeah.
let's see, electronic signatures when the technology is achieved shall be allowed, is what I had said, but could be anything. And that was in that section 3, 6.223, where it says the petitioner has 120 days to collect the signatures of the registered voters in the county in the number of at least, and change it to 10, maybe, % of the votes cast in the county. And then the last, I would add to that paragraph, electronic signatures when the technology is achieved, or whatever we want to say, shall be allowed. And that's all one thing to accept.
So I'm thinking we're all in agreement around that, or no, Dave, you were going to say something.
So you're attaching the concept of electronic signatures with the concept of lowering the signatures, the number of
Can't do
signatures.
that.
percentage?
You can't
It
do
looked
that.
like
It's two
that's
items.
where it would go, because that's where it's talking about the initiative procedures. The first one is, they only talk about signatures in item 3. And the whole thing is the petitioner has 120 days to collect the signatures of the registered voters in the county equal in number to at least 15% of the votes cast in the county in the last gubernatorial election. Each petition shall contain the full text of the proposed measure, ordinance, or amendment to an ordinance and the ballot title. Electronic signatures, when the technology is achieved, shall be allowed. That's all one situation, and that's the only place where it's talking about signatures.
I think it has to be, it would have, that would just be a totally separate initiative kind of item. That one
Well-
item would be the percentage and a separate item would be the electronic signatures.
I
But they
don't know
can't
how-
be tied together because
I don't know how they do
subject.
that when you're changing a section of whatever, where you're crossing out this. But yeah, I agree, it can be two, but it's all the same section. Where
Yeah,
it
it's all
belongs.
6, but so like if you were to
It's
read
all
it,
6.2.3 or whatever. It's
yeah,
all
it
in
would
that
be,
same
one might
paragraph.
be 6.2 and then one might be 6.23. So it'd be two different items if I understand the process correctly.
Well, I
And I'm
think
no expert.
the initiative has to be, the idea is separate, but it can all go in that same section of the initiative limitations thing that they're telling how it is, because it does address more than one thing in there. But we can put,
I see
know
what
what I'm
Patty's saying is that what already exists has two components to it. And so if
Right.
we're changing a section with two components in it, is it then just one section, AKA one component that we're changing, or does it fall in the category of two different? And I don't know.
yeah, because they don't really address anything more about signatures. They don't say the signature shall be in ink and on a piece of paper and whatever, they don't say that there anywhere else that I can find.
Who do we need to ask to find out if that's one thing
Well,
or two things?
I think it can be two things, and I think what you do is bring it to the full council, and they then pass it by the lawyers to see how it should be written
Right.
up. That's not our job.
Okay.
Right.
We're just bringing the idea. We don't even have to have it well written.
I think we should definitely present it as two different things, because I would hate to have,
Yeah, no, it
Boy.
is two different
Oh,
things, but it
yeah.
goes one place, I think.
Right.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's
Right.
to
You're
the
right. It goes in the one section, but it's two subjects.
Two subjects.
Okay.
it'd be so easy to
Right.
shoot that down, shoot down percentages based on electronic signatures.
Yeah,
And,
no, no, no. we
And,
don't
and what we'll
want that.
have to do is have a case for each one.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the crosscut piece we should hold on to because that kind of gave you the case.
It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, explaining why we needed to do it.
Mhm. All right.
Did
Good job,
anybody get a handle on the percentage, what we should come up with for a percentage thing?
Well, I told you I can't really get into that until like 2 weeks from now. So,
Okay. We
but
can
if
put it up.
anybody else is moving on it, that's really cool. I love it.
So I had made a commitment to possibly reach out to Ria and Madrona, and I did not have an opportunity to do that. So that's still on my going forward list to reach out to them and find out the original thinking of the
Thank
percentages.
you.
So,
We were,
a-
if I
and
remember right, we were going to come up with some questions for Hamelin or not. Is that in a different committee?
Oh, that's this one. Yeah, that's this one for sure. Yeah. And I again, I hadn't didn't do that. We can make some questions here now.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Is that
Unless we have something else we need to talk about, let's do it.
yeah, let's get it done.
Okay.
What are we talking to her about?
Yeah.
It deals with elections.
Yeah. Well, getting let's see. Just getting information about. I'd like to get information from her about.
Oh, we
what's
were
the
going to find out
history?
who the freeholders were.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need that.
Patty, you're gonna write this down.
I'm trying to.
Okay, we'll talk slow.
That won't be hard.
Turn
Who
some
the
lights
free-
on.
Who the freeholders are, who what are the past initiatives? And have they failed or succeeded? Well, initiatives and attempts, excuse me. And in a conversation I had with the guys who are doing electronic signature gathering, they're asking what goes on the initiative. What do we need on the initiative? Like, is there just a signature or their address and county? And I realized, ooh, I haven't really seen one for really looked at an initiative to see what's there. So that might be something for us to look at, just to at least put eyes on an initiative.
Yeah,
Yes, we
okay,
should do that.
right.
And are the forms designated by the state? Because it seems like they all have the same language, that they have to be read and they have to have the entire initiative in it, so that everybody can see right up front before they sign it what they're actually signing about. And I don't know if that's a San Juan County thing or if that's a state thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought you were saying estate, like somebody's estate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not an
late.
estate.
Yeah, it's not an estate. I'm thinking about the state, not to be
Got it.
confused with
An estate.
an estate.
Ah,
But we were also talking about, we're trying to find out why our crowd came up with 15%. And
Yeah,
we
that
don't
was-
know why.
that was where this started.
Yeah, we don't know
Really?
why they chose that number. And that Liz was going to see what Rhea
That's
knew.
what, yeah.
And we thought that the elections office might be able to tell us who the original freeholders were, because we didn't think
Exactly.
that had been changed since then.
That's
And then we were
where
gonna try to
Camelin
see-
came in.
Yeah, that we're going to see if we could figure out who we might know that would have the memory to tell us.
And
that sound
that's what I
familiar?
was gonna do when I talked to Camelin, only
Yeah.
last time we decided, let's come up with other
Set of
questions too.
questions.
That was the only thing really on my mind to even talk to her about, was who were the original freeland load
Freeholders,
holders, freeholder freeloaders.
yeah, freeloaders, freelanders, freeholders.
Yeah.
But yeah, so so I do have a few questions, and I think what the initiative looks like is sort of talked about here in this thing, where it just
In the charter.
it indicates everything that goes on an initiative, but
But it'd be nice
yeah.
to know if that was just San Juan County.
sure, I've got that question down here. Is the requirement for the complete one? Yeah.
Is there ordinances we should be looking at, or what are they, wax, or like, is there something that in the county code that we should be looking at that would have all this information in, like how to design us?
Well, she could tell us what section of the code we should look at, and
Yeah.
that would probably be a good thing to do.
Yeah, or at least know and
Yeah,
um,
or the RCW.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I
I
did-
wonder, oh, go ahead, Deb.
Oh no, let's go for it. Yeah.
I just wonder if there's like a generic kind of question that we could get, value from, and just asking her like, what's her overall perspective on the initiative process? Would we get anything good there, or is that just too generic? Just like, what are her thoughts about it?
Yeah, just sure. She'll be happy to say, I'm sure.
I mean, assuming she has a unique vantage point.
Could we
What
put
advice
these,
she might have for this committee?
could we put all these questions to her and then invite her to come speak to us?
That'd be good.
Yeah, sure. I'll invite her to come.
The other thing I would be interested in, and Dave, you kind of raised this in another discussion, which was, is it the percentage we're looking at, or is it the number?
The percentage,
Well, I know, but because we're small,
it's the percentage.
no, I know that. I know that's what the language is, but is there any kind of mental distinction people make? Or I'm just trying to figure out.
Well, I think when we do the, the justification for it, we will list it in there what the percentage is, considering the last gubernatorial election we had with 80% people voting, that our small community still requires a large number of people with a percentage. And as you brought out at one point, it was 1,900 and something for 15%, and it was down to like 1,300 for 10%, which was, in my mind, easier to get. But I've never actually done an initiative. I don't know how hard or easy it is to get these signatures.
Well, you know what, Patty? If this goes through, you'll have an opportunity to do that.
We should just do it.
We don't need
Because
signatures
there's
for
going to
this,
be an initiative.
Right?
but it's different.
Oh, we don't have to do signatures. Is
We
that what
don't
you're
have to
saying?
signature
It's
gather.
automatically
else.
on. But
Yeah.
Dave's saying we should
This-
do signatures.
We should find
anyway.
one.
This is not an initiative, it's an amendment. What we're working on are
I know.
proposed
That's good.
amendments.
Yeah.
And we keep calling them initiatives, but they're not.
We could,
Yeah.
we could do one to rename Trump Island. That'd be kind of fun to.
Oh,
Please.
wow. I think
Wait.
it's sold.
Yeah.
It's all,
I
So
wonder if
maybe
they'll,
it'll become Ellis Island.
That'd be great. Yeah.
well, just as an aside, a long time ago, my parents here at Friday Harbor, that there's Brown Island. If you've been to Friday Harbor at all, Brown Island is there. Back in the 70s, it became a real estate development and they called it Friday Island Estates. And so you didn't live on Brown Island anymore. You lived on Friday Island. And that must have lasted 10, 15 years. And then somehow it's back to Brown. I don't know. It happened when I wasn't associated with the place for a while. But yeah, my folks lived on Friday Island.
Well,
interesting.
so let's see, back to
Initiatives.
the initiatives, right? When we were talking, you're talking about actual numbers of signatures versus percentages. My question was about in terms of selling it. In terms of, clearly the language and the legal language in the amendment is going to be about percentages. But I was wondering, what does 1,300 look like? Is that look like too small for a voter, or is that, in terms of pitching this idea to people, is that going from 19 to 1,300? Does that look small, or is that too? What looks better, going from 15 to 10%, or going from 19 to 1,300? Is kind of the question. Is kind of a marketing question, I guess.
I think what you're coming at is people being afraid in a way of getting initiatives out there that shouldn't really even be there. There's a word for that and I can't remember it now, but
Frivolous.
frivolous. Okay, so in that case, 15% to 10% is probably the better one. Particularly if we can say that other counties have 8 or 6%, when you're talking numbers, our county is only what are we, 17,000 in the county, something like that. The town of Friday Harbor is 2,000
Last
people.
gubernatorial was about 17.
Yeah, okay. That's not that many people, but I mean, 10%, 10% of the voters is close to 1,300. That isn't 10% of the people, because not all people can vote and only 80% of them did. But yeah,
Dave,
we're selling it.
I think you raise a good question, and my answer is that that we probably really don't know. There's people out there who research that kind of thing, and they would have a perspective on, how different formats of numbers impact people. But I certainly don't know, and I don't know. Can we Google it and it would give an answer back, or I don't know how to find that piece of information.
And we're doing that because we're trying to figure out how to justify this. So we still need to decide what percentage we want to say.
Right.
And then we go on and write the justification for it.
Right. And I think that's a really good point, Dave. And my reaction is, just gut would be go with the percentage because it's not,
Yeah.
you don't make as much of a value judgment with a percentage. But I think Liz is absolutely right. We go with, we'll check and see what other people in the marketing side think.
And certainly, I think Patty had the idea of scale, right? Our scale is pretty small here, but well, I did do a little research over the weekend to just states, see what their percentages were, and no state was 15%. Most of them were down to 10, some 8. 15% really, it seemed to me, is really anti-initiative. It is really trying to prohibit initiatives, and it made me just more passionate about, like, this is something that's got to change. We've got to really embrace it.
Oh, good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So keep
I
that
think
nugget
it's a high
because
bar.
we need that for our argument.
Oh yeah. We'll be finding.
Did you learn anything else in your sniffing around?
See, 26 states have the right of initiative, but it seems like it's most cities nationwide have the right of initiative. It's much more common. It's more common in cities and counties than it is states, which I thought that was interesting.
Oh. Yeah.
It's and there's a lot of states that you can change the Constitution by initiative, or we don't. And Oregon is that way. Oregon was one of the first states to have the initiative. It's more. There's more information about states.
Interesting.
Like, gleaned.
I think a lot of the Western states are more people-driven than the Eastern states. And certainly Washington probably wasn't even born yet when Oregon decided to have its initiative, but I think it's been in the Washington Constitution a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still there.
I'm from the District of Columbia, so we're still trying to get a representative.
Feisty one.
Do we want it to be 10%? Do we want it to be 8%? Do we want it to be 9%? Do we want it to be, we haven't settled on a percent. And I'm asking you.
So the value of going with a slightly higher, the 10 versus the 8, would mean that if you get enough signatures, then if people were aware that you're asking for more signatures than most any other place in the country, then you would have the, I don't know, just the additional to call the county council on, following through on this and be in the face of the attorney who's telling you can't do that because you're going to get sued, and all of those kinds of things of saying, yes, and what the people want. So that's why I would kind of be inclined to stay a little bit higher than, certainly if we've had initiatives that have gotten 15% of the vote, when that's a very high number nationally, to me, that seems what I would use that as leverage, I guess is what I'm saying. If I was an initiative writer and I knew I had gotten more than the national average of votes, I would be pulling on that lever and saying, don't you ask me to back down. And here's why.
Cool. You did bring up a good point, though, which was that we have managed to get initiatives through in this county, even with our high bar. So maybe we shouldn't change it. I mean, there's always a lot of argument on the different side. One of the things, though, is having experienced the COVID situation and knowing that there's no way in heck we could have had an initiative brought forward and presented during this last year just because of that. we don't know what the future will be.
I would like our county to, in the charter, to embrace initiatives more and have it more a part of our maybe a political identity as a county. And I would like that culture to be enriched here. So that's I'm definitely in favor of changing it.
Okay.
And I even in our conversations here, the first person I really heard say anything, well, we got to make sure that the initiative needs to be tempered to not be frivolous. The first person I really heard talk about that was Kevin, when he was describing what our committee is looking at. I don't think any of us have really talked about the worry of them being frivolous. I mean, sure, it's been in the back of our mind all along, but it's a concern he has. It's a concern I get the feeling Kyle had. I think there's a number of people. There's probably the freeholders as a concern they have about frivolous initiatives, and it is a concern out there. And so where are they going to? How are they going to feel about whatever we put forward? Yeah, a thought.
You know, knowing how hard it is to put the initiative together, which now that I'm learning more about it, it's like, oh my God, who has the energy to do all of that? I wonder, the most famous frivolous, which I would call frivolous initiatives, were, the Iman thing, where he was actually kind of making money off the whole scene, and it was a business. And it was easier for him to do than your normal person wanting to put a frivolous initiative out there for who knows what reason. I don't think we really need to worry about it either. So we don't even really need to mention it necessarily. I do think it. Yes, Liz.
See, the other side of the coin to be sure and look at is, given the speed of change that's coming and that, we're on the edge of, allowing a mechanism for the community to change its charter by initiative, it becomes more critical. So going through long periods of, relative stability, the initiative might not as be, and I'm thinking out loud, here's what I'm doing, is that the initiative initiative process may begin to have more importance as the world enters such an unrecognizable chapter.
Well, my thought, based on what Dave said and what Patty said about the frivolous piece, is at the same time, I have heard individuals argue that we have a very informed electorate.
Oh, yeah.
And that we can trust our voters. Okay. So that's one piece. Then, based on what Liz said, I think I know the vacation rental group on Orcas, because I'm a part of it, talked a year ago in the fall about whether or not to do an initiative on this. And we were told, kind of, two of us talked to Randy, and he was like, you can't go there because this is clearly, I thought he said it was part of the GMA. I thought that was why we couldn't do one on this. It was about, land use designation. We couldn't go there because it dealt with the GMA and land use designation. And that's one of the areas that in his memo on initiatives, you're not allowed to get into. And it would have probably been a lot less painful and a lot less time consuming for all the parties involved, less costly, I think I would say, to the county, if that had been allowed to proceed, There were certain attorneys who were like, no, 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 you need to go forward on this. And then other people were like, it says right here, we're not allowed to do this.
Hmm.
And that was it's that he gave us that I think in the very beginning as, just part of our folder of information on the Charter Commission. So I think in terms of what's coming down the road, and some of this relates to your governance committee, Dave, because I think what we saw on the vacation rental situation, which happened between Orcas, San Juan, and Lopez, we saw one island isolated out, and the San Juan County voted on it. San Juan County Council voted on it. And the other two islands were bifurcated out as not being players. I mean, I think Lopez, maybe your UGA is in it, but you're really not involved in it either. And we didn't do that on the marijuana moratorium. And I almost, when I was making my comments about it to the council, I almost warned them that they really needed to be careful because they were starting to bifurcate the county. And once they did that, we would have incorporations because they are basically saying we are not one, we are separate. And as soon as you do that, you start dividing the people. So that's a long way of getting into what's coming. But I think on some level, county leadership has to decide if we are one or we're going to be bifurcated. And if we're going to be bifurcated, we're going to have more kind of the feeling that Orcas needs to incorporate, Lopez needs to incorporate, or we're going to have more, you know what, they're not responding to me, I'm doing an initiative. So I think that's kind of, Liz, in terms of what's coming, people are tired of it. There's a whole group that's called Represent Us.
Yeah,
And
go ahead, Patty.
I want to respond to that because I have a question about where you said that you could not do an initiative because it was written somewhere that the land use was not up for
Right.
an initiative. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Randy gave us a document early on that was about the initiative process.
That's weird. I don't remember that. Okay, I'll have to look.
I thought it was like what we could do and what we couldn't do with initiatives. Am I maybe I only.
No, I recall that as well, Emery.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not there somewhere, but some of my emails.
No, we got it early. It was like in the stuff he gave us as background material when we first came in. And then in that material, he talks about you can't do initiatives on items that are I guess it's constitutionally designated from the state government to the charter, or to the San Juan County Council. And the Growth Management Act is part of that. And because it's Growth Management Act, it deals with land use. If vacation rentals were under a business license, you could do something like that. But he was saying, because it's a land use designation of property that goes on in perpetuity, you can't do that.
I have to confess that first packet of information he gave us I thought it all just had to do with taking your oath and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's what it was, because I didn't read through the whole thing.
Don't worry about it.
I have to go back and read.
Don't worry about it. So it's more information than you need.
So I don't know enough that I can even finish this sentence. But so Anne-Marie, what you're saying, kind of pushes a button for me from the standpoint of we keep hearing about what we can't do because of the law, but law, as I understand it, law is developed by cases being brought and challenged. And that's where we land somewhere. And so to stop pushing for something because there's a law opposing what we want to do, that oppositional law might have made sense when and to and by the people who pushed for it. But then the people pushing for changes to that law, we shouldn't back away because that's how laws are changed.
See what
I
you're
don't
saying?
disagree with you, but I think when you're working with a group of people and the vacation rental group works under a consensus model, so we all agree, and we had early on meetings about how we operate on Orcas and how we deal with each other, and we have San Juan members too. But so we talked about this, and we talked about energy and people going to do it, and the whole organization of it. So it was a group decision about how we wanted to extend our energy, and would it be better to then, instead of spending our energy on an initiative that we thought was going to get defeated, to go forward and propose changes to the county council that we had the public backing behind. So we had all these meetings and things like that. And then we
Yeah.
came up with a slate of maybe 9 items that we wanted the county council to take on. And we looked at all these different national and international situations, in terms of why this worked and why this didn't. It was really, really well thought out. And I can say that because I wasn't someone that drafted any of it, it was really well done.
So one thing is, Anne Marie, I was actually pointing to the larger,
Right, I gotcha.
our task in front of us. And then the other part having to do with the commission, the county council that was in place when I came on island, and the county council member meetings I attended, it appeared to me that it was pretty business development heavy. And that was from a newbie's perspective. And the county council that we have now is a pretty dang progressive bunch of folks. So anyway, I was just thinking about it. I wondered when you brought which commission you brought that before. And I don't know how far we want to go down that rabbit
Right.
hole of the,
Yeah, we can talk about that another time.
yeah,
But all I'm saying is that when you're in a situation like that and you're weighing the pros and cons on doing an initiative,
yeah,
you look at, okay, we've been told by one person we can't do this. So then you decide as a group whether or not you're going to go forward with it, just like the whale group did. They decided to pursue it, even though somewhere along the lines they probably heard, okay, you're going to have this upward battle against,
Yeah.
spending, and an upward battle against the whale associations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to be the lead here.
Yes, please do.
And I still haven't really, have we made a decision that we want to pursue a 10% figure? So I can state that.
I'm in it.
May I just I just did a little bit of math here.
Yeah.
And so I it's a 13 as it is right now, if we're going by numbers, is it's 1310 for 8%. Is that what I sent out?
8%.
If we're if well, it's so no, I'm sorry. So it was 1992 for 15%, what we're at now. We'll play with the currency of numbers and percentages. If we brought it down to 10%, it was 1310. Is that right? Is it something like that?
It sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just figured out for 8%, and for 8%, if it's at 1310, for 8% it would be 1,048. And so,
So, yeah.
I
So what are
think-
you saying?
I'm just putting that number out there. I'm for 8. I think, go big, go home, as an idea. I like the number 8. I just think that we really want to we're seeing the need for a change. If we're going to change, let's make it a change that is more of a change. And I just think that it would be we're really promoting this idea of initiatives. And so I'll just make the argument for 8. I'm certainly going to vote for 10. I mean, for 10.
Well,
but
Liz, you want to say?
So Dave, I like the idea of going for 8 because we first of all have to get it past the whole commission. So we would see what sort of level of pushback we got there. So we might as well start at 8%, see what that representation, gets us and comes back with. And then we can move to 10% from within the whole commission group. And I like that.
Okay, so can I get consensus on that we will go ahead with 8% as a recommendation for the large group?
And it sounds like we have rationale to back up that 8%, that 15% has been an unreasonable number to operate under, and 8% is a national.
Is anyone willing to write up 2 or 3 sentences saying that?
Well, the only question I would have is I would want to make sure we get to, after we go to the full commission, we get to come back if they turn us down.
Well, when you're in the full commission, that's when then it's out of our hands. But we need to present this as something that we feel should be done. And it's up to the commission to go ahead and say, 8's too small, but how about 10?
Okay.
It doesn't, I don't think we go back to our committee at that point. I think it's
Okay.
there.
It's going to be decided there. Okay.
Decided there.
Okay.
That was
What
the
do you think?
proposal. Yeah, that was the proposal, wasn't it? That Paul Dossett put forward, 15 to 10? Or
I don't think there's been a proposal. I
Oh,
mean,
when
maybe
we go back, we need to go back to the whole list. He
well,
did have-
yeah, okay.
he had something in
That
the
may
whole
have been a proposal. That doesn't mean we need to stay with it.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing it. We looked at it. The proposal was basically reduce the number. And so we've come up with 8 instead of 10. If they want to do 10, fine.
And I'm sure the
But-
process isn't going to be either a thumbs up, thumbs down vote and it's over. It'll go back into conversation again with the whole
Exactly.
commission, correct? Because that's what's going to
Correct.
happen with whatever.
My
Okay, but
adjusted-
somebody in this group needs to have the language for this one and for the 10.
I'd be happy to volunteer Dave for this.
I would too.
I got nothing to do.
Why
I'm just
not?
hanging out.
This is what he does all day long.
That's right. Yeah.
What do you do all day long, Dave?
Uh, well, I work on the governance committee quite a bit. That's 9 people, and I sent out 9 documents for that today. But tomorrow I have a play date. I'm taking care of there'll be 6 kids over here tomorrow morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Their mother goes to school, goes to the doctor. So yeah,
That's very
that's my typical day. But
Okay.
I'd be happy to do that. I just I love this committee. I love these issues, and it'd be
Okay.
yeah. I'll
Sounds
have to
good.
do it. Yeah. And so wait a minute. Do
You
what
got-
now? I write it 1 for 8 and 1 for 10.
Well, I just thought
just
that we
want-
needed to, if they're going to have a
Yes.
discussion about it, we need to be prepared to come back with language for 10. You know what I
Okay.
mean? If we're going to get shot down, then we want to have our language so that
I
we
don't
can go forward.
I don't anticipate we'll be shot down necessarily, but if you can write something for doing it smaller and do 8%, and you'll have in the back of your head, you've already done that, what 10% would be. I don't think we need to do separate ones. Just
Okay.
justify reducing it. And
Just remember
to the-
who's on the commission. You've got Tony, you got Dick, you got Bill.
Yeah.
you got
You
19,
got a lot of lawyers and a lot of government people.
Well,
you got 18 people
Call
on that commission.
yeah.
You got 18 people. They're not all those guys. And those guys are
Okay,
good
I'm
guys,
cool. I'm
you know.
cool. Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
We're just changing a number, so it's a changing of a number in the
Right.
legalese, but it's the findings, and the argument for it is that I'm gonna do a draft, and we'll come
Yes.
back with a draft to you. Yeah.
Okay.
So are we saying
Thank
that tomorrow are you saying that tomorrow you'll present it, or sorry, Wednesday, you'll present it, or
No,
you'll
no,
come
no,
back
no.
to our
No,
group
Oh,
with your
It's down the
writing?
road, down the
No.
road.
it's
Down the road,
down
yeah.
the road.
Yeah.
No, next meeting, Dave might have language for us to discuss.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping you will.
yes, I'll
Do we want to talk about the other issues here? Did we decide that banning paid signature gathering was something we could not do? Did anybody say?
No,
that that was
I
something
thought
we
that
could
was
not-
on our list.
we were gonna look into it.
It is on our,
Oh,
okay.
We don't know legally if we
because I
can do
thought-
it.
Right, because somebody had said, oh, that's against the First Amendment, whatever, but I don't know. I think that I really feel we shouldn't have paid signature gathering, but that's me.
so we
Um,
need to float that to Kevin to float to Randy. Is that
Yeah,
how
give
it
it to
works?
Randy.
But we have to give it to
Oh,
Kevin to
okay.
give it to
I'll
Randy.
ask-
Right, to give it to Kevin, to give it to
Yeah,
Randy.
okay.
And then we'll get a confidential document.
Right.
That we're gonna say, make it transparent.
Really wanted to do those, but okay.
You know,
So how about,
I was saying floating that
Yeah.
up to Randy and everybody knows that he's looking at that. I think that would get a head of steam behind it. I think people get excited about it.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So the other point is the financial limitation clause. Have we gotten any further on that idea?
So before we move forward, I just want to make sure, Patty, at the next go round, are you gonna do that via email to Kevin? Or are you gonna do it at the full commission meeting and
I'll do
say,
it by email. I'll do it by
Okay.
email to Kevin, if that's
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
so Dave, I wasn't sure how you thought people would be aware that we floated it up.
Oh, it's
Oh,
I don't know. I didn't know. I mean, is it
but
private?
we can report. We can report that this
I
is what
would
we've
report
done.
it out and have it as an inquiry to
Yeah.
the, so the whole commission hears that we'd like to know about it.
We
Yeah.
can report it as long as we report it. So it'll be in the minutes.
I think
And
even
I'll-
the anti
if-
people will like it.
If we get a
Even
chance
the
to
anti
say,
what?
Initiative people will like it, right? I think Bill and Dick and yeah, they'll all like it.
well, we'll see. Let's see.
Who knows? Maybe they're not.
But-
So I was just trying to get clarity on Patty's role at the full commission's meeting. She's asking it, she's floating it out there and saying,
We'd
our
like this
subcommittee,
opinion.
yeah, our subcommittee would like to know
Right.
whether we have the authority to,
Ban
yeah,
paid
paid
signature
signature.
gathering.
Okay, cool.
A legal
excellent.
opinion. A legal opinion.
We'd like a
Yeah.
legal opinion on this. And that'll get their juices going.
Do you think I should just wait and do that at the meeting, or should I email Kevin like tomorrow to?
Oh, I do it at the meeting. We've only got a couple of minutes to put it forward.
Right, but I mean, at the meeting, we might not even have a chance to say anything because that's happened in the
Ah.
past.
Okay.
Well,
Well, that's okay.
well, I-
Then why don't you send it to Kevin and then bring it up at the meeting so the whole commission knows?
Exactly.
Yeah,
but I've
I'm
done
just
that.
Should we
saying
vote on
our,
it?
our
Should we
group
vote?
is,
Oops.
yeah,
Should we
our,
vote?
We
our
vote to
group
put
is,
forward? I'm sorry.
you and me, Dave, we'll go dancing later, okay?
Yeah. Great. The Grange.
So you'll send an email to Kevin, and at tomorrow's meeting or Wednesday's meeting, if there's an opportunity, you'll float up there. It says our group has requested a legal opinion and if we can do this. Cool.
And then Dave wants to know if we can take a vote on it.
Well, I
I'm
think,
in.
Okay. Like second, like actually
Yeah.
vote or
Yeah,
okay.
we got a second.
Okay.
okay.
Well, okay.
Discussion?
Oh, so we have a vote. Everybody
a
say
vote.
aye.
Aye.
Raise- Okay.
Super majority. as Sharon Abreu says.
So that can go in the letter that we voted on it.
Yeah, and
that's
it's at a
something more
super majority.
official.
So this
Whatever.
last thing about the financial limitation clause, has anybody done any more work on that? I have not.
No, and that's one of those things that we were trying to find the freeholders for,
Okay,
figure out why we got there.
And that was the
Except
that was the second question I was gonna ask Ria and
Right.
okay,
Madrona.
okay, good. Thank
And-
you.
And I was thinking that if we go to write this up, the lawsuit that Liz was talking about earlier today about the whales, that would definitely be something we'd cite as a finding that this that the county has undermined getting initiatives to the ballot based on, there's a history of them undermining initiatives based on this clause in the charter.
Oh, wow,
Ah,
that's good.
Okay.
Capture that somewhere.
I mean, that's just a real, that's really
Okay.
why, that's where I learned about this clause more first.
Yeah, and we figured that in looking at it, every county except King had it in their charter. Is that right? Am I remembering right? And King County was the one that didn't have a financial limitation
That's
clause.
what I remember. Yeah. King doesn't have it, but everybody else did.
And so we sort of assumed it was a matter of budgeting because King County has a lot more money.
I think
didn't
I
assume
assumed that we didn't know. I just
Yeah,
assumed
I
we
don't
didn't know.
know.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
it's already 8:10 and we have no more to say about this right now, but we'll continue talking about it if that's okay.
Yes,
Will
I
you
will,
guys-
I will reach out to Rhea and Madrona this week.
And I will, I'll talk to Camelin and see if, give her the questions and see if she might be able to meet with us next week. That would be cool if she could.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a little late for her, so she's going to be.
I know it's late. She'll be
That's the
working all day and then 7 o'clock at night, but who knows? She's nice.
We are the
Yeah.
Charter Initiative Committee,
Right, we could get rid of the
Yeah,
elections office.
you know, we're nice. So we
And
think
I'll
we're,
send an email to Kevin too, and then report on it in the meeting if I get a chance.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, they're supposed to get a lot. We heard from Catherine today that there's gonna be a lot of committee reports.
Do they have a
Tomorrow-
speaker?
On Wednesday?
I
Yeah,
didn't look.
I
Yeah.
didn't look yet.
I
Do
didn't
we
look
have
at the agenda. Did they
speakers?
have a speaker coming?
Christine Minnie, the new
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
the council.
council person, and
Okay.
then should expect a lot of time for committee reports.
Okay.
So,
And we've got to get through the,
Executive session.
yes.
right.
And Maria, looked
Oh,
like earlier you were going to say something. Is that still?
No, I'm all good. I was probably just voting yes or motioning to adjourn.
There's your second.
A second.
Either that or a peace out, one of the
Peace
two.
out.
Peace.
Yeah.
We
Peace out.
adjourn.
Peace
Okay,
out.
I'm gonna stop
Okay.
the record.
All right, y'all.
Great to
See
see
you.
everybody.